This week's article is entitled Some Principles of Stratification, and was written by two individuals, Kingsley Davis, who we have seen before with a social isolation, and Wilbert Moore. The article about stratification and the process of stratification with respect to the situation of classes in society and what causes the class distinction that relates to inequality. Now, if you think about stratification, what is it? But if you've ever, say, for example, had a geology course, it talks about different strata or layers of the Earth's surface. Think of that composed or compare it to, for example, in society with different classes of people or high rankings of people based on some type of hierarchy, and this is exactly what stratification deals with. The Titanic is a good example of the different passengers on board. You know, those that paid the most, those that paid second most, and then those third-class passengers who really didn't pay much at all. And for example, that was very important in terms of survival where you were on that ship at that time. But that's another good example of trying to hit home the point of stratification. Back to the article, we find that stratification can be compounded by several institutions, and one of those, for example, is the government. The government has several powers, and one is over mass production. Now, there are many jobs to be filled, and stratification helps to achieve that process, where jobs that are valuable to the community are put in a higher respect than jobs that could be filled without as much training. For example, in our society, CEOs have more of a demand on attaining a higher education that would be a great deal of pay for the training of the job in school, and as far as getting compare it to a job in a fast food restaurant where a few days of training is necessary, that gets the employee ready for that job in such an environment. Working in, say, a fast food restaurant doesn't mean less work than a maybe higher paying CEO position, but it is a different kind of work and development that goes along with the demands of the job. Stratification does not focus on the situation of inequality, but more on the social class. A person's occupation defines what social position that they will be in. For example, a farmer may work extremely hard from dawn till dusk, doing the most dirty job, but will still retain the position of lower or middle class and may tend to interact with others of the same social standing. Stratification is very important to every society, regardless of whether they are technologically advanced or not. There needs to be a hierarchy within every society to ensure that people in the most important positions receive proper compensation for that position. Otherwise, no one will ever want to be in that position, and society begins to deteriorate. However, even though stratification can be considered helpful in this illustration to the continuation of society, stratification also can be harmful and has negative aspects. Other social institutions, including the family, religion, school, can perpetuate the cycle of being from a lower strata, and this continues from generation to generation. Every society contains some form of stratification, which is also justified and seen as fair. This stratification that we see can range from the caste system in India, the capitalist systems of the world, or the socialist policies of the world that we find in nations around the planet. In each case, each of these economic systems has a punishment and reward system. Government also plays a role in our society for several reasons, one being the role of law creation and enforcement. In the United States, voters have an important role determining who is put into office for the creation, formation, and enforcement of all these laws. Those jobs are more prestigious, and that equals more wealth than poverty. In the article, Chambliss and Moore stress that a position does not bring power and prestige because it draws a high income, but rather it draws a high income because it is functionally important and the available personnel is for one reason or another scarce. And that was a quote from the article by these two gentlemen. Stratification can also be helpful for human motivation to accomplish certain goals in life. Certain people will fill certain positions where others will fill other positions of varying strata for the functioning and well-being of our society. This provides us with social order. If the duties that people carry out were equal, then it would not make a difference as to what position was held by whomever it may be held. The article does continue to indicate that everyone has their own talents and strengths in the roles that they fill, and this is what stratification motivates people to do in order to survive. So I hope this has been helpful as you post your discussion board response. Thank you.